Hello and welcome. So you've all probably heard the hype around Gen AI. It's a really cool technology that is changing the way that we do a lot of things. But when I talk to folks about how they're using it, typically they're just accessing it via the websites that the model providers have made available online, like Claude.ai, but they don't really know how to integrate them into their own applications for custom use cases. So I figured I would make a video on how you can deploy your first Gen AI application in less than 15 minutes. Whether you're a developer, a student, or an AI enthusiast, this project is designed to give you some very quick hands-on experience with the cutting-edge technology that is changing the way that we do a lot of things. So this demo doesn't require you to know any actual programming, but if it helps, it does help if you know a little bit of Python to customize the demo for your use case, but you don't really need it. So let's jump right into it. Today we're going to be building a AI-powered custom Q&A assistant. In this demo, we're going to be focusing on a specific type of generative AI called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. That's a common acronym you'll hear. Generative AI models like Claude or Amazon Titan are really powerful, but sometimes they struggle with providing responses that are grounded in real world facts and knowledge. So RAG systems aim to kind of solve that problem by combining the abilities of the large language model to understand language and a structured knowledge base in the background to ground the data that is being used to generate the responses. The way that RAG works is that the large language model then first retrieves the relevant information from the knowledge base and then uses that information to generate a response. So that would allow the AI to provide answers that are more informative, more accurate, and more contextually relevant compared to just like a standalone model. So by pairing the powerful abilities of a model like, let's say, Claude 3 Sonnet with a comprehensive knowledge base, RAG systems can tackle a wide range of tasks from answering factual questions to creating content within certain constraints. And it does all that while maintaining a really strong connection to real world information. That's what makes RAG a compelling approach for many practical applications of generative AI. All right, so let's jump right into the building. We're going to start by clicking the link in the YouTube description. You're going to see that it's going to take you to this GitHub repo that I've set up. This GitHub repo has information on everything that we're going to build today. It has the steps that we're going to follow through, but if you just stick along, I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to do. So some prerequisites that you need Python installed. If you don't have that installed, it's pretty straightforward to do. Just go to the Python page, click download. Steps are pretty good. Go to the CLI. You're going to need that installed as well. The AWS CLI allows you to interact with AWS from your computer using your command prompt or your terminal. So you're going to need to set that up. The steps for doing that are pretty well documented. If you don't know how to do that, the link is right there. Just follow through from getting started here, and it's going to walk you through everything that you need. All right, so I'm going to assume that you have all of that set up. The next step is going to be to clone the repository. So do that by just clicking this green button, copying this, and then you're going to open up a terminal. And I'm on Windows, so I'm just going to come here into command prompt. Make sure you're in uh, the right folder that you want to, paste this into. Then do git clone, paste the name of the repo that you copied up here, and if you click enter, it's going to copy that in that directory. I've already done that, so I'm not going to do that again. The next step will then be to, let me just move this out of the way, go into the Streamlit folder. So that's a folder in there. Let me just cd into the repo. So that's going to be, I think it's called rag, right? Yeah. And then cd into the Streamlit folder. So that's this. And then once you're in there, do pip install -r requirements.txt. So pip install -r requirements.txt. Again, I've already done this, so it's not going to install anything new for me, but I'll just run it. Here you can see everything's already satisfied. And then let that run in the background. In the meantime, switch to your browser and go to AWS. So Just search up AWS and then sign into the console here. If you don't have an account, make one real quick. Set that up and then go in to your console and we're going to go to S3. Once we're in S3, we're going to create a bucket. So we're going to do that. You can call this my first knowledge base or whatever you want to call it. Just make sure that it's unique. I've already done that, so I'm not going to create one, but all you have to do is just type that in there and then click create bucket. Then go into that bucket. I'm going to go into mine right here. And you're going to see that, well, yours is going to be empty, but you're going to want to upload some documents into it. So if you go back to that repository that we copied, I'm going to open it up here in Finder. Inside of the Streamlit folder, there's going to be a folder called Knowledge Base Samples. Here I've included just some basic manuals. Actually, they're not even real manuals. I just had like a LLM create these. I just put a prompt into, I think it was Sonnet to just make me some manuals. Like if I click into this, you can see this is like a forklift manual. This one is like a solar panel one, but it's just stuff that the model threw together so that I can show the demo. Feel free to use your own prompts to create something that's interesting to you. Mine are pretty boring, as you can see, but you can put really anything in here that you want the model to use to answer your questions. So once you have that file, then you're going to want to upload that by clicking here, adding files, and then going into that knowledge base and uploading all of them, right? I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it, but if you click upload, it should be pretty quick. They're just TXT files. All right, now, once you've done that, then we're going to make sure that we have Bedrock access. This is what we're going to be using to actually do the RAG. So navigate to Bedrock in your console here. Inside of Bedrock, you're going to want to come all the way down here to model access. So you want to make sure that you have access to these models. They're not enabled by default in your account. So if you click manage model access, you can click that right there or just choose the specific models that you want. There's going to be like a button down here that says request access. I don't have that because I already have access. Click that and it should be pretty quick in terms of granting you that access. Verify that you have the greens here around the Claude 3 models. That's what we're going to be using. So if the rest aren't available, that's fine. Just make sure that these are. All right. So now that you have the model set up, it's time to set up the knowledge base, right? So let's come here and let's create a knowledge base. You can just call this my first knowledge base or whatever you want to call it, and then click next. Then it's going to ask you to connect an S3 data source, with the information that you want to use in the RAG model. Then you're going to want to go and find that. Click choose, and then click next, and then choose whatever embedding model you want. We'll just use Titan for this demo, but it doesn't really matter. Once you have all of that, click create knowledge base. It's going to run for a little bit, and then it's going to create your knowledge base. It should take about 5 minutes, so maybe go grab a coffee and come back. I've already done that for the purposes of this demo, so you won't have to sit here and watch my thing load. So here we go. You can see that I have the Octank knowledge base, and in that knowledge base, I have just the same 3 documents that we just uploaded. Oh, here we're in the wrong region. Let's make sure that we are in the right region. That's actually important. Make sure that you're in US East 1 or that you're at least remaining consistent for where you're deploying all of the resources. So here you see I have all of the same manuals uploaded. So now we have created our knowledge base and we've added things into it for the model to understand and we vectorized that model. All right, awesome. So now you can test that here. So let's select like a model. Let's do haiku, right? And it might ask you to like update. I forget what the exact term is, but there'll be like another button here for like get your model up to date if you upload new stuff into here. So just click that, and then once you've done that and it's finished loading, you can test that here. So like let's do what do I do if my turbine is on fire? So if I run that, then if a wind turbine is on fire, follow the following protocols, blah, 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 blah. All right, cool. But this isn't like what we want to do, right? Like we don't want to hop into the console every time we want to use our knowledge bases. We want to be able to use this in our application. So now we're going to do that. One thing you need to take to do that is this knowledge base ID. So go inside the knowledge base and copy this ID. And then we're going to go into the code. So don't be intimidated if you don't know Python. We're not actually going to do any coding. All we're going to do is we're going to change a single line here. Here. So for you, it's going to be a bunch of X's, right? Make sure you paste the model ID here. And then uh, I have Haiku selected here, but you can choose a different model ID if you want. You can find that model ID over here. So if you go to base models, there's a bunch of models, right? Let's say I want to switch it to Sonnet, click on Sonnet, scroll down right here, model ID. So do that for whatever model you want to use. You can play around. Maybe there's one that works better for your data. But most people should just leave this. That doesn't matter. And then again, make sure that you have the US East one, or make sure that it's consistent with whatever region that you've deployed all of your resources in. If that's not accurate, this isn't going to work. Then copy the knowledge base ID, and then here you can enter in a title for whatever you want. I'm just going to call this Octank Internal Asset Assistant. Just name it whatever. It doesn't interact with anything else. It's just for your front end. So make sure that's good, and then save it. All right. And then once you've saved it, then that's the last step. All you have to do now is run your application. You can do that using this command right here. So make sure that you're in the correct folder, right? All the way in the Streamlit app, and then paste it in there and hit run. It'll take a second, and then it's going to pop up a local website. This uses Streamlit. It's just like a front end application. I've already written all of the code for, you know, the graphical elements of it, and that's what you're going to see here. All right, so now we have our custom generative AI assistant, and we have a query box here. We have that little name that I was telling you about earlier. So let's test it out by running the same query that we ran earlier. Let's do, what do I do if there is a fire? So if there's a fire on a wind turbine, do these, right? That's the same things that we got earlier. Let's try something else because we have a couple manuals in there, right? So for example, we have a forklift manual in there. And it's important to remember that this will only give you answers that are available in here. So if we ask a question that is not available, like let's say, what is Salman's last name? And click submit. Yeah, it's going to say, sorry, there's no citation available for that, right? Whereas here, there's a citation, a reference for that. So let's do something that is in there. Let's do something like, um, what are the parts of a forklift, right? Because that's listed in there. What are the different components in a forklift? Forklift. It's gonna think, and then here we go. According to research, mass, forks, counterweight, blah blah blah. Same information that we have here, right? So this use case can be used for any kind of application where you want the model to not hallucinate. You want it to pull directly from a data source that you have customized and answer questions. So you can think of that like personal use cases, right? Like if you want to upload some information about yourself and ask the model, like, did I do this? Did I do that? Or some enterprise use cases could be like, did how many times did this machine go down, right? You could send that machine data into AWS, index it, vectorize it, and then you can ask questions here. The use cases here are infinite, and this hallucinates way less, right? It allows you to use the awesome model's capabilities to understand English and do basic reasoning, but to do that with your specific data. So I'm interested in seeing what people build with this. Whenever I talk to customers, they always have interesting use cases that I've never thought about. So if you have any interesting use cases, drop them in the comments or drop any questions. I hope that this was useful. Until the next video. Thanks.